Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about habit number 6 for effective research, and that is get rejected. I want to say get rejected and then try again. The reason I emphasize getting rejected as an important part of getting published is that everyone gets rejected. Everyone. Even Nobel Prize winners get rejection letters. In fact, a number of Nobel Prize winners, I think it's 7 Nobel Prize winners, have said that their most fundamental research was rejected at least one time before it was published. If Nobel Prize winners get rejection letters, you and I certainly will. That's just how it goes. My favorite example of this is George Akerlof, who won the Nobel Prize in economics. George Akerlof was working for a small college in the United States, and his dean told him that he needs to publish quickly to get promoted. He tried publishing in a very good economics journal in his domain. That journal rejected him. He tried a second one, also rejected him. He tried a third one, rejected. So he took a trip to India to kind of relax and think about the meaning of life. He returned to the States and submitted to one more economics journal, which published his paper. And that paper, titled Lemons and the Market for Used Car Sales, that paper is one of the most highly cited papers in all of economics and helped to get him the Nobel Prize. So my point is, good research is sometimes rejected, and just because your paper is rejected doesn't mean it's not good research. Try again. Try at least 3 times, 4 times before you give up on that paper. However, before you resubmit, I think you should modify at least a little bit. Why? Because the same reviewer may get your paper again. And if you make no changes, then he may recommend rejection for the same reasons that he did in the last paper. In fact, I think you must change something before you resubmit to avoid getting the same reviewer. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Before you resubmit your paper to a new journal, eliminate any evidence that your paper was rejected by another journal. Now, editors for new journals will often know that you were rejected by an older journal, another journal before. How do they know this? Well, number one, Microsoft Word keeps a file, a document property file, in every Word document that you have. And that file will record the date that the file was created and every time that the file was revised. So when you send your file to the editor, he puts his mouse over your file and he can see the file was created 5 years ago, revised 3 years ago, revised again 4 years ago, and he thinks this is an old paper twice rejected. Maybe I should reject again. You see, you don't want the new editor knowing that your paper was previously rejected. He may assume that there are problems in that paper that he should also avoid in his journal. So you need to make your paper look fresh, like you just wrote it just today, just for him. And how can you do that? Hide or delete the document property file in Microsoft Word before you send that file online or through email. Or copy and paste to a new file so it looks like a fresh paper before you send it out to another journal. Number 2, always add recent references from the most current as possible. Let's say that you're writing the paper in 2017, but you submitted the paper in 2016. Now that the rejected paper comes back, add a new reference from the current year, from as recent as you can before you submit it to a journal. And another thing that you should be careful of is to change the references on page 1 of your paper. The reason I mention that is that your editor often uses your own paper to find a reviewer for your paper. And because he's busy, he may not read the whole paper. So the people that you cite on the first page of your paper are more likely to be chosen to be reviewers than page 2, 3, 4, 10, 20. So be particularly careful about the people you cite on the first page. And when you're rejected, consider maybe moving around the references on the first page so that the first 3 are not exactly the same. Maybe you move the page 1 references to page 2 and page 2 to page 1. so that might require rewriting your introduction a little bit, but you're trying to get a new reviewer. The old reviewers just rejected you, they don't like you. So you're trying to avoid getting those same reviewers again by reshuffling the order of the references on page 1 particularly of your paper. Now, when you're rejected, it's very normal that you're going to feel depressed. Everybody feels depressed when their paper is rejected. It's normal, and I've seen this many times in students in my writing class. I felt these myself for my own papers that have been rejected. I want to go through the feelings you're going to have about your rejected paper, because you're going to feel bad, and I don't want you to feel bad because you feel bad, if you understand what I mean. This is normal, this is natural, you're human. The first emotion you're going to feel is depression. Oh, you will feel so blue. It will rain every day for a week. Sometimes students disappear for 2 weeks from my class, and I know what happened. Their paper was rejected. And it's totally normal to feel this. Your paper is your baby. No one loves your baby. Of course you're unhappy. The second emotion is anger at the editor. Sometimes students will return to class after 2 weeks, and now they're angry. At who? The editor. They'll show me the letter from the editor, and they'll say, "Look, teacher, the stupid editor doesn't understand my genius idea." This is always the second emotion. Again, it's totally normal. Now, the third week, they're still angry, but the anger has shifted from the editor to the system. They will tell me, "I only speak Chinese. Why do I have to write in English? What is SCI, SSCI? Why do I have to do this?" They're still upset. The fourth week, they're still angry, but their anger has shifted from being angry at the editor to the system, and now they're considering changing their job. They say, "Teacher, why am I even a researcher? I don't even like research. I should go work in the supermarket or work in the night market selling Jeonju Naicha or Cho Tofu. My friend is selling Cho Tofu. He's making a lot of money. I want to sell Cho Tofu." And then fifth week, he will review the paper again with the editor's letter, with the reviewer's letter, and he will say sometimes, "You know, I see where I can improve, and I feel that I can begin to revise." The reason I'm telling you this is just be patient. After you receive the rejection letter, it might be good to put it away for a day or two or a week or two until you calm down, and then when you read the paper again, it will feel different, and you will begin to be ready to make important revisions to your paper before you resubmit to another journal. Remember, everybody gets rejected. You have choices. You can give up your article. I don't think you should. In fact, I was reading that, and this is a sad study, but in the paper I read, when graduate students were rejected, 30% would give up their topic and their paper, and that's a shame because there are many reasons for rejection besides poor quality work. You should try again. Even Nobel Prize winners are rejected. So better than that is number 2, send your article with no changes to another journal. Just put it in another envelope, send it out to a new journal, same day. Maybe if you do this, you think publishing is like Las Vegas. If you just keep pulling the bar, eventually you'll publish. This can work, but honestly, the better option is number 3, revise your article and send to another journal. Now, revise easy mistakes that the reviewers have mentioned. Revise English, revise grammar. If there's anything that you can do quickly to change your paper, do that. But my recommendation is don't do a major revision after only one rejection. It could be that another journal likes your paper just as it is. So you should give it another chance with new reviewers before you dedicate a lot of time to doing a serious rewrite of your paper. Finally, the last choice, you could try to argue with the editor. Now, this doesn't really work. So that's why I mention it as an option, but it's not a recommended option. Sometimes I have had students who have sent an email to the rejecting editor, and they say, "Your reviewers don't understand my great idea. Try again." Generally, the editor will not change his mind. What he might do is send a letter to both reviewers asking them to respond to you. The problem with that is that often now the reviewers know your name because the letter from you may have your name at the end. And because your domain is small, there are not a lot of reviewers in your domain, and if you start fighting with those reviewers, they might reject you several times in the future. So you want to keep good relationships, and fighting your editor, fighting your reviewers in your very small pond might not be good long term if you're trying to publish again in this journal, or if these reviewers are selected again. So most of the time, we just move on to another journal after making some revisions. Finally, avoid the journals that always reject you. Let's say that you keep submitting to the same journal and they keep rejecting you. Reject, 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 over and over. What should you do? Well, my recommendation is stop sending all your papers to this journal for a while. Try another journal. Maybe the new editor will like you more. And if you're concerned that an editor is, let's say, prejudiced against you, I don't think this happens very often, but sometimes students tell me, I think this editor doesn't like me, he remembers something bad about my previous paper, and so he's rejecting me for that reason. Well, if you believe that is true, just stop sending your paper there for a while and wait for the editor to change. Usually editors change every 3 years. When a new editor comes in, you can resubmit to the new journal. In the meantime, choose another journal also suitable and send your paper there. If you feel that it's because you have a Chinese name that editors are not looking seriously at your paper, then you could send initials rather than your full name. And that might hide, for example, your ethnicity or whether you were female or male by using initials. And then when you finally are accepted for publication, you could provide your new full name for your final published article. Well, that's all that I have for you today. For more information, visit my blog, editing.tw/blog, and you'll see a lot of articles that we've already published on how Chinese scholars can publish more in international journals. In addition, I have a company that revises and translates Chinese papers, and you can visit us at editing.tw. We have a site, a company right here in Taipei, and we can pick up the phone and talk to you as well about any questions that you may have. And our editors can also write comments in your paper that will help you to improve the flow, not only of your English, but of other things as well. So for more information, please visit our site, which is editing.tw. Thanks for joining us.